This is Wednesday night and it's Map Show night, and I'm so excited to have you joining us from wherever you are. Tonight we're going to be listening to Hennie Nieuwoudt as he shares his insights on having a power goal. I mean, this is an exciting topic, and I'm looking forward to your interaction and discussion. Tonight I just want to remind you that our purpose is to map the world, and our vision is naturally world transformation. And for those of you who've been listening to us over a period of time, our mission is simply to make life purposeful. Somebody recently was asking me, what is our goal? Our goal is clearly stated in page 2 of your blueprint. So if you're using Map for Life, you will know exactly what Map for Life is all about. And I'd encourage you to engage with us. If you support this vision and mission, we would love to have you part of our MAP team. And we regularly do Map for Life training for MAP coaches. And those of you who would love to train others, we would really be excited to have you join us. So tonight, we are here to listen to Hennie, and Hennie and I will be engaging after this discussion just to talk about the topic a little bit further. Maybe I have a few questions, but I'd love to invite you to share your posts, share your comments, share your insights. When you do, tell us what country you're from, share your name, and maybe just add a little bit there. You know, how did you get to hear about Map for Life for the very first time? We would love to hear that. And after this brief 6-second splash, Hennie will be on screen and he's going to share his topic tonight called Power Goals. Over to Hennie.
Good evening, everybody. Such an honor to be here tonight again. As part of this journey called Map for Life, I got very excited about a number of things that's actually happening in that process. It got me to start reading books, and if I remember correctly, about 2 weeks ago, the gem was all about what do you put in your brain? What is it that you're feeding yourself? That is actually what you will be becoming. And that got me thinking quite a lot. And I started reading some books. I'm always reading books, but I started reading books in a very different way. And one of the ways that I started reading was with a pen. It sounds quite funny. It means I read a lot slower, but I start writing things down. And one of these books that I'm busy reading right now came up with a concept called power goals. It is something that is actually very, very interesting. And it's also a little bit different from what we used to. And I really thought it was something worthwhile sharing with everybody. So the book that I'm reading is called Power Goals by Dr. Hannes Dreyer. I would really recommend for anybody to go and read the book as well. Some very awesome insights in there. And maybe there will be 2 or 3 more talks coming from that book as well, from the things that I learned and that I would like to share. So let's start with the Power Goals then. Dr. Hannes Dreyer talks in this book, starts in somewhere in the introduction. He says, you read something by Och Mandino. I am here for a purpose, and that purpose is to grow into a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand. Henceforth will I apply all my efforts to become the highest mountain of all, and I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. That started triggering a process within him when he was 27 years old. And he started asking questions. Isn't there more to life? Am I not capable of a lot more? So I think his journey started here. My journey was a little bit different. But we all have this point where we start looking at things differently. we all start at a point where we say, maybe, just maybe, I need to have some goals if I want to go somewhere. There are the sayings that says if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. If there is no target to aim for, you can't miss. So what does goals do for us? Why do we have goals? Um, so in general, it says a goal gives you direction. It gives you a target to aim at. But more importantly, what a lot of people do not know about goals is it gives you a way to measure your progress. So even if you have a goal and you do nothing, you will still be able to measure your no progress. I've been conditioned, and maybe you as well. We grew up with something called SMART goals. And I know Glenn has also spoken about SMART goals before, and how Map for Life has made it a lot more practical and lot more useful. In Power Goals, Dr. Arnes also looks at SMART goals. And for those of you that can't remember, a SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So Power Goals have a lot of similarity, but they're not the same. There are differences. And two of the key differences is really the specific and timely. If a goal is specific with a time limit, it is actually limiting you. That's putting limits on who you are and what you can do. Secondly, if your goal is SMART and it's achievable and realistic, it means it's an easy to achieve goal. And a power goal is there to stretch you. So I want to take you through the power goals and what they are and how they operate. And maybe it will just put in a different spin on how we see goals and how we align ourselves to find that purpose and to actually achieve that purpose. So what is a power goal? The first thing that he said that was very interesting for me is your goal is not your goal. Let me say that again. Your goal is not your goal. It's not the goal. So what is the purpose then? The purpose of a power goal is for us to transform into becoming the person who can make our dreams or goals come true. It's about becoming the person who can make that goal, or any other goal for that matter, become a reality. That's about me changing. So therefore, a power goal transforms us. You have to become the person that can make that goal a reality. So it will change you. It will make you a better person. But in saying that, there's also a right way to set goals. And let's quickly talk about how goals work and how a power goal would be different. Let's start with the wrong way first. So Dr. Arnes talks about two ways that goals are wrong, and then the right way that a goal should be set. So the first wrong way is the biggest mistake people make when they set the goal is there's a want in there. They want something. The mindset is one of, if I have this goal, I will be able to do the things that I want to do and be the person that I can be. That's really it. So it's a mindset of have, do, and be. In other words, if I have the property portfolio that gives me income, I will have the time to do what I love and be fulfilled. You'll see the three words coming through every time. If I weigh X, I will be able to wear Y and I will be attractive. If I get that increase, I will be able to buy X and then enjoy life more. So it's all about have, do, and be. What is wrong with this really? It is really focused about we want the result because we think it will make us easy. So let's say I've got a goal to say I want to make it R1 million by the end of the year, $1 million. And when the end of the year comes, I haven't achieved the goal. Well, actually, I have achieved the goal. I achieved it once because I'm still wanting it. The focus was on the want more than on what I needed to achieve. And that's the reason why he calls this the wrong way number one. If I go to the wrong way number two, it's doing a lot of things to get things and thinking those things will make them happy, will make you happy. So what does that mean? Let me just say it again. It is doing a lot of things to get things and then thinking that those things will make you happy. It's a mindset of do, have, be. Remember, the first one was have, do, be. This one is do, have, be. So if I exercise more, I will have a great body and I will be attractive. If I work harder, I will get an increase and I'll have more money. If I buy another property, I will have a passive income and I will be content. The problem with this type of goal is we're just chasing after things the whole time. Yeah, sometimes we do get to those things, but then we're not satisfied and we find the next thing to chase. It's really about chasing things. It's really that do, have, be. So how is a power goal then different? A power goal says the right order that you need is be, do, have. You first become the person who can do the things needed to have what you're aiming at. So in other words, it starts with me. I need to make some changes. And I think in Map for Life, we talk about habits, and maybe I'll go into a little bit of it later if time permits. The self-improvement gurus all teach us that as well. You have to change, but none of them really tell you how you can do that practically. There's not a lot of that's how you do it. You get excited and you're excited for a week or two, but you don't really get to what you want to do. In terms of power goals, I think the key thing here is really focus. It's about transformation. And for some, it could become a very spiritual journey. So let's get past all of those things. Let's get into the nitty-gritty parts of it. How do you set a power goal? What is a power goal practically? Let's do one of them. So to do a power goal, there's 6 steps that you go through that you need to do. The first one starts with, if it's not on paper, it's vapor. You would go and sit and write down a list of all the goals that you think that you want to achieve one day. 2 things are key here. You need to make sure that it is your goal, not your wife's goal, your dad, your mom's goal, the office's goal. It is goals that you want. And then secondly, you want to put down those goals very positive. So in other words, instead of saying, I want to lose weight or I want to have a healthy fat body percentage, state it specifically. I want to weigh 87 kilograms. That is putting it down very positively. All righty. So now we've got a list of dreams and goals. Now we take these dreams and goals through a process to measure them, to find out if we can turn them into a power goal. So the second step then is you find the desirability of your goal, the worthiness. So in other words, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do I really desire to achieve this goal? Is there a hunger? Am I happy to sacrifice anything? Am I prepared to move? Am I prepared to change jobs? How badly do I really want to achieve this goal or dream? You put the desirability score, like I said, from 1 to 10, with 10 being very desirable, next to each of those goals you wrote down. Then you take it to the next step, which is step number 3. Your goal or your dream must be something that will stretch your limits. It must be, I think he uses the word audacious. It must be so audacious that it will actually scare you. It needs to scare you. It needs to be very difficult because it needs to transform you. It has been said that if a goal is very easy, believe it or not, it is less likely to achieve that goal. I can get there if I want to. If it is a very, very difficult to achieve goal, there's a little bit more of a challenge to it, and the human mind actually likes challenges. So what you do with these goals you've written down now, you give it a score, a difficulty score. Once again, same scale, 1 to 10, with 10 being very difficult to achieve. If outside people were to look at your goal, they might actually say it seems very unrealistic. It might be in their eyes, not in your eyes. So now I've got a list of goals and dreams written down. I've given it a desirability rating, and I've also given it a difficulty rating. Now the next measure that I need to take these goals through are they good for me, good for everyone involved, and good for the greater good? If it doesn't tick all the boxes in there as well, then it cannot be a power goal. So automatically on the scale, if we started going through the goals, if you didn't get a 10 in step 2, if you didn't get a 10 in step 3, and if it doesn't tick all the boxes in step 4 that we're on right now, chances are good that it's not a power goal. The next step is something we know. Napoleon Hill said, a goal is a dream with a deadline. We're going to do exactly that. We're going to give this dream or goal that we've got a timeline, but with a little difference. We're not going to just say, I want to achieve this on 31 December 2023. We're going to say, I want to achieve this goal on or before. We're going to open it up a little bit more. I want to achieve this goal on or before the 31st of December. What Dr. Hannes is saying as well is, why are we always using 31 December? Why can't it be your birthday? Why can't you set the goal for your birthday? So be creative, pick a date, but make sure on or before is part of it. And then the last thing that you need to take this list of goals through is really, you need to be in control of your goal. In other words, I cannot have a goal for my wife to lose weight. That's never going to work. Dr. Hannes uses a formula for success that asks 3 questions of the goal or the dream that you've put down there. And the first one is it possible and legal? It's interesting that he puts the legal part in there, but yeah, is my goal or my dream possible and is it legal? In saying possible, I might not see how I'm going to get there. The question is really just, is it possible? The second question, if I pass that one, is, can I make it happen? With the focus being me. Can I do something to achieve it? If it is the weight thing and I want to lose weight, I can't hire somebody to go and do push-ups for me. I need to do it myself. And then if I do pass that second question, is, do I have control over it happening? Meaning that, as an example, as a farmer, I cannot say that I will have a goal that I will have an awesome harvest this year. I do not have control over the weather, over rain coming, etc. So make sure that there's no external factors influencing your goal. And then last tip, that's the 5 steps, so we'll just go through them just now. The secret there is, you do not need to know how you're going to achieve that goal. It's not about the how. It is just making sure that the goal is there. So what would be a sample of a power goal? Simple. To lose 20 kilograms or more before or on 23 March 2024. That would be a simple power goal. Would it work? Yes, if my desirability and if I really am prepared to skip on the donuts and the chocolates that I like. Is it going to be very difficult? Yes, I'm an addict. I love my chocolates. So it is going to be very difficult for me to get there. So if I tick the boxes, it means that I am going to be changing a person. I'm going to be a changed person if I want to get to that thing. Yes, I would probably be in better shape. I would probably be very healthy. I would probably look very good. But that's what a power goal would do to me. Now, I think in one of the next sessions, we can probably talk about the change that needs to happen and how do we do that. Dr. Hannes didn't call it that. He talks about environments and in the book, and I'll talk about that maybe later. But for me, something like power habits is now coming into play to say, what are the things that I really need to do to change the me so that I can get to my power goal? So I think my challenge to you is, we're used to seeing goals from the goal itself. The power goals shifted the focus a little bit to say, let's look at the person I need to become to achieve that goal. And for me, it just puts on a little bit of a different spin on what we are doing and how we're achieving those goals. Maybe see if it works for you, if you can incorporate it as part of what you're doing. And maybe it can just be that last little thing that makes the difference for you. So go out there, go and double check your goals, go and measure those goals against the power goal rules and just see how it performs. I'm not saying go and change your goals. If it's working for you, stick with it. For me, this was just adding another dimension to goals. And it really excites me because now my goals are a lot more difficult because I'm stretching myself and I am changing into somebody that I wasn't before, but somebody that I'm really starting to think would be able to assist in mapping this world. Looking forward to some questions, looking forward to learning from you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with you.
Hennie, that is fantastic. And I look forward to discussing this in more detail with you just after a short little break. And we're going to listen to Miguel just share something of his experience with Map for Life. And as soon as he's done, Hennie and I will be back. So those of you who've been listening in, please share your comments, insights. And even if you have a question for Hennie, why not ask? Type that in and share it with us. We'd love to hear from you. So over to Miguel.
Muy buenos días a todos. I am Miguel Sanz from Madrid, Spain. I started using Map for Life back in 2016, where this picture here, where I am with Glenn, belong to that year in the training I did in Pretoria. And you know, there are many talks, many talks out there in internet, in real life, where great speakers tells you that you are unique, that you need to find your purpose, what you need to do in life. You end up out of those talks really happy, but naked, because you have no tools. What's Map for Life? Map for Life gives you the tools to achieve your goals, to be precise, to do all the things you need to do to achieve them. You are unique. Be mapped.
Tonight we've been talking about these things called power goals, and I think that you've introduced something really exciting, and I trust that every single person who has been listening this evening has seen the opportunity that we could actually have a map show focused on book reviews. You know, there's so many great books out there, books that you have read. What a wonderful way to really grasp the concept of a book that you've read than to prepare a talk on that book. I've heard many people do book reviews, and all they do is simply read selected portions out of the book, and there seems to be no comprehension or understanding. What was really nice about Hennie's session this evening is that he gave us some deeper insights and made it applicable to his life, and I trust that he has done the same for you. And it's just wonderful to hear from you joining us this evening. So Rion from Leidenburg in Mpumalanga, thank you for joining us this evening. Great to have you here. And also Sankwe, all the way from Zambia, two of our regular participants. Hennie, look what I have. This book is of course being Afrikaans, you would pronounce it differently to me, but I pronounce it as Og Mandino. And the interesting story about this man that you referred to right in the beginning of your talk is that he wrote this book and a number of others after somebody pulled him out of the gutter. And when I say out of the gutter, he had become an alcoholic. He was living on the street, homeless. And I'm sure you can imagine, you may have seen somebody in this kind of situation. And he turned his life around. And what was interesting this evening, I just looked at one of the scrolls that he has. He has these affirmations that people read. And I'm not too sure whether you are familiar with these scrolls, but the scroll marked 9 inside this book says, "My dreams are worthless. My plans are dust. My goals are impossible. All are of no value unless they are followed by action. I will act now." Never has there been a map, however carefully executed to detail and scale, which carried its owner over even 1 inch of ground. I just like the reference to map there. And he talks about
Yes.
a parchment and so on. And he says, he goes on to say that action alone is the tinder which ignites the map. And of course, for us, MAP stands for My Action Plan. And you know, this year I think it's important for us to remind our listeners, our viewers, that our focus this year is personal leadership. It's about learning to lead yourself effectively. And for me, that is something that requires patience sometimes. But the message that you've shared this evening is a step in that direction of having power goals, having a clearly defined destination. We talk about clarity of vision, influences decision, may be the right term. So, Hennie, you've given us your prepared talk for this evening, and I want to congratulate you. This is officially talk number 3. And talk number 2 on video, like we're doing this evening. So well done. I mean, you've got to that point now. The ice has been broken, the ice has been shattered. And I could see that tonight you were enjoying yourself sharing this message. What, from your side, what was the big draw card when you saw this book by Hannes Dreyer? What drew you to pick it up and start reading it?
I think the video that played just before we started that says Map for Life is a box full of tools, for me, I think what was the key thing. People probably start knowing me as the habit person, but I just felt like I needed to understand. I needed to learn a little bit more about the Map for Life lifestyle methodology. I needed to incorporate it into my life, and I think the easiest way to learn and understand something is if you really start learning more about it. If you start making it part of yourself, of your who you be. And some of the things that comes through there is really on the destination side. I have gone through something and I have set my goals and everything, and I followed the World Cup soccer methodology, and I got to my goals, but I still felt like I haven't really hit the mark with the goals. Am I really all I can be? Am I really achieving it? I'm moving in the right direction and I'm feeling very happy with where I am. Things are happening. Never in my life did I ever think that I would be able to pick up a pen and write something on paper and maybe take it to the next level. It has happened. So trying to find that balance of saying, how can I be more? Goals was always in my mind. So I started looking at goals to say, what else can I learn about goals? And like I said, I've referred to the gem 2 weeks ago. For me, was very interesting. The gem was all about what can you take in? What can you learn? What are you putting into yourself? And I just thought it's time for me to just maybe learn a little bit more about goals. And then I had a conversation with Peter Darrell. And Peter said, why don't you read Power Goals? It's a book that I've read and it made a lot of sense to me. And I thought, okay, well, let's pick up a book and let's start reading it. And like I said, it's not a thick book and it's taking very long to read because I read and I make notes and I go back and I almost study the book right now. It just felt like it's clarified one area of the methodology for me even more. Now that I think I'll grasp the concept around that, I might maybe adjust my goals a little bit more, stretch myself a little bit more, challenge myself a bit more. But then I know what's going to happen next. Like I said, the environments, the habits. Okay, cool. So I've changed the goals now to be something. For me now to achieve that, I'm going to have to change a lot of who I am according to the power goal. And how does that happen? With the habits, with the environments that I live in. So I'm thinking that's going to be my next challenge, is to say, how do I learn more? The framework is there. I just need to grow myself as much as I can within that framework. And I think that's what stood out for me is the framework is solid. It's there. It's just how do I enrich myself so that I can assist other people a little bit more by doing exactly that, focusing on the small bits and pieces in there. The wheel of life is awesome. Maybe there's something in there that will get to me, but for me right now, it was really about focus, to say, what do I need to change? How do I get there? And what would be the goals? So I think that's where I focused. Yeah.
Hennie, the gem that you were referring to was the one of last week, which is engineer your mind. And for those of you who are watching this live session, or if you are watching the recording, you will see the URL link on the screen. And that will be a great gem to go and listen to, because it talks about, what is your library, how is your reference library developing. And I think it's important that not only do we read books, there's a lot of people who input incredible amounts of knowledge into their mind that other people have written. But what about making the first step like Hennie has done, and that is to go and begin to write down your own thoughts, write your own book, withdraw the revelational truth that is within you. Maybe there's some wisdom hidden inside of you. I think I was sharing just the other day with someone that, so many people love to ask you if you've read a particular book, and often you haven't read the book. And what I've found is that sometimes, in fact, not even sometimes, many times, people read books by the dozens, but they fail to implement anything inside. And so what I did was, when I started having a lot of people ask me, have I read this book? Have I read that book? I used to respond by saying, well, tell me 3 things that you've learned from that book and applied in your life. And, that helped me to be a better selector of books to read. And so, Hennie, well done on not only reading the book, but beginning to apply it. I think that's a great step. I see Gordon is in our studio in the background as well. Gordon, if you are able to get your camera on, it'll be lovely to have you to join us in the discussion. Otherwise, you're welcome to leave a message in the private chat, like a comment, and we will discuss any questions that you share with us. We talked about the different mistakes that people have when it comes to setting goals. I was busy making some notes as you were running there, and I got a little bit out with the different sections that you shared with me and with us as an audience. Could you just maybe touch on each one? And when I say touch on each one, just mention the first one and let's discuss it. As far as my notes was, mistake number 1 is that there is a want in the goal, and it's about something to have, to do, to be. And the next one is a little bit slightly different order. Why don't we just take a look at those and discuss them, talk about them a little bit more?
Yeah, we can. So I think the magic is around the 3 words, and the first mistake was really all about the have, do, be. It is really about, I need something before I can do something, so that I can be someone or something. That's the first one. It's all about that have, that want.
So it's like saying, I'm just thinking, very often I hear people say, if only I had the education, then I could be somebody.
Exactly.
If only I was born into a wealthy family, then I could be someone. If only I was older, if only I was younger, if only I was born in a different part of the world. That's the kind of thing I think that you are alluding to in this. It's like an obstacle that we place before us, and therefore we end up in procrastination.
Exactly. And I think the key thing for me really is the fact that the V is right at the end. The aim really there is to be someone. I think for me, it strives to be successful. Our purpose is not to be successful. Our purpose is to be significant. So I want a number of things in place so that I can be successful. That's what it's about. I need this, and if I had this, and if I could do this, only then will I be successful. So I think for me, that was what stood out there as well. I need to weigh this so that I can wear that, and then I will look pretty, kind of thing. It's really about me, myself, and I. I've lost all sound.
There we go.
Glenn.
I'm
Okay, cool. I can hear you again.
message on my screen to say that I lost audio, and I thought, who's lost audio? And then I realized it was my audio that had gone off there. Let's go and let's go and look at mistake number 2, because I think that just looking at it from a couple different perspectives maybe gives us a deeper insight.
Yeah, I think mistake 2 is really about if I do more, I can have something. So once again, I can be. So it's once again about the successful. So I need to work harder. I need to do more. I need to do this. But once again, it's all about me doing more so that I can have more, so that I can be whatever I want to be. So it's really about that doing more. Once again, it's for me, it's focused on self. It's me, myself, and I. It's not really focused on the bigger picture. So I need to exercise more so that I can have a great body, so people will like me, kind of thing. It's that.
You know what's yeah, okay. So I something else that I was kind of thinking about in the beginning when we started Map for Life. I was just looking to see if I had an early copy on my desk. I don't. When we started Map for Life, up until about 2008, I think, somewhere in that vicinity, we had step number 4 was to take massive action. And the idea was being driven that if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And it seems in this world system, the busier somebody is, the more they seem to achieve. The consequence is that there are time management systems in the workplace. I think the SMART goals that you're talking about today are very applicable within the environment where you're controlled by someone else and you've got to live within the restrictions of that organization. And so massive action was kind of the key thing. But I realized later that you talked about it's not about success but significance. And so we changed the word massive action to meaningful action. And I think that concept is about doing something, or rather that being mindful that the actions that you are doing are aligned with your purpose, that they are bringing meaning. Because we can do many things. We can waste our day with busyness, or we can do things that are being directed by our destiny. Live by design. What is that design? Have you been designed for a particular purpose? I was reading one of these affirmations, or as Ogmandina calls, scrolls. And while you're responding, I'm going to go and find it over here, because I was just wondering whether I didn't get, because I read this book. You can see it's pretty old.
Yeah.
I read this book in the early 90s. And the reason I have it here is because Anne is actually reading it right now. So she's been going through this, and we've been through this book many, many times. And so I was reading one of the scrolls, and I thought, I wonder if the quote, "You are born for a purpose that the world cannot do without," isn't been or wasn't influenced by Ogmandina. So I'm going to go and find that while you share some of your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, a lot of people say that they are busy every day. But the question is, I studied industrial engineering, and the first thing they told us was to say, don't work harder, work smarter. It didn't make sense to me way back when I studied. It's starting to make sense to me right now. It's not about being busy. It's about being productive. Even if I manage to just get one thing done that brings me 1 centimeter closer to my goal, at the end of the day, I'm closer to my goal, rather than me spending the whole day being very busy and I haven't actually moved. So there's definitely a difference. I need to actually do something meaningful, and meaningful drives me towards my goal.
There's something that I'm asking questions about at the moment, and I think it's important to have a safe space where you can talk and express your areas of interest and the questions that you have and the uncertainties that you have without fear of being judged or condemned. The world is so full of opportunities for that. And so in October 2021, that's almost 2 years past, I planted seedlings in my neighborhood. Now, obviously, these seedlings were about 30 centimeters in height. And the reason they were that height was because in July, I had planted seed and the seed had germinated and I had these seedlings. Today, those trees, I think the tallest one is just over 1 meter in height. And it would be called a sapling, I suppose, in the arbor world. The one thing that I know is that those trees are going to reach a height of 15 to 20 meters. They're going to weigh 3 to 4 tons in weight in terms of the wood above the ground, excluding the root system. I know they're going to produce seed or fruit and seed every single year, and they're going to be having these flowers. But right now, it seems as if they are taking forever to grow. Yet I have the knowledge that they're going to become fully grown. And as you were talking about the goal and the productivity and so on, I was just thinking to myself, I wonder to what extent people miss the manifestation of their great ideas because they are so focused on short-term gratification, instant success. They want to see the big results immediately. And as you were talking, I was just thinking about that tree. And Anton, one of our very first members in Map for Life, Anton Skiepers, he shared a concept with me one day. And it was based on, those time-lapse movies that you see, where they show a seed germinating and it comes out the ground, and before you know it, there's a flower and the flower dies, and they show that full life cycle in a few minutes. And he used this word. He used the word, or rather phrase, controlled explosion. And so what I'm kind of wanting to say to everyone is that your productivity in a day can be incredibly powerful over time if you remain persistent and consistent with the daily action. In fact, if you're wanting to do something that's really significant, something that's incredibly meaningful, something that is world-changing, or like our vision says, world transformation, if you want to do something of that nature, I think there's a need to have a multi-generational mindset. You've got to accept the fact that you're actually going to die before you see the vision that you birthed realize. And yet, despite having that kind of vision, you've got to be productive on a daily basis. So let's not be too, I'm just saying, let's not be too hasty to see the end manifest quickly, but let's be focused on daily steps towards that end. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. If I just take one step every day, it will take me 1,000 days to get there. I'm a road runner, and I see Mr. Rian talks about the hamster wheel of business is very dangerous, but I'm a road runner. If you go and run a marathon, you don't focus on getting to the 42K mark as quickly as you can. You focus on the first water point. There's water points every 3Ks. I run a number of 3 kilometer races. I need to get to the water point so that I can fill up the tank. And I think it's the same thing. You need to make sure that you do something. If I go at the start and start focusing on getting to 42, I'm not going to get there. But if I start focusing on getting to the first kilometer, then the second, and then the water point where I can fill up, I've done 3Ks. If I look back, I can see myself having achieved something. And I think those small little victories also makes a big difference. It is just making sure you're taking daily action. It's just making sure that I reach kilometer after kilometer to get to the end. The same thing.
This morning, my son and daughter-in-law left for Seoul, South Korea, and just such a special moment to see them following a dream that they had, and as I was sort of seeing them depart and take that next step in their journey, I was realizing that every great journey starts with the first step, but also that their journey that they're taking today is defined not by the beginning, but by the end. The destination gives the journey its name. The destination gives the journey its name. And I think we all need to have a very clear destination so that the story that life's a journey can actually be true for us. For a lot of people, life's a circle. The circle of life. They're born, they work, they die. They're born, they work, they die. I mean, that's the alarm clock goes off on Monday morning. They come back, they watch TV. Tuesday morning, the alarm clock goes off. They come back, they watch TV. And so it's just this perpetual hamster wheel that Rian was talking about. So I think we need a destination. And the question is, what is your destination? Have you got a name for it? Because if you don't, you're not on a journey. You're running around in circles. And I struggle to find people today that have a journey that they're on, because there is no definition of the end. There is no destination. And maybe what you've talked about this evening is going to help people to really get that clarity, to define that destiny, so that they can say, I'm on a journey to Cape Town. I'm on a journey to South Korea. I'm on a journey to map the world. What is your journey? I have come to something so that something, why have you come?
Yeah, I mean, adding to it just quickly, Rian says, when running up the mountain, you keep the summit in sight, but you need to look back occasionally to appreciate how far you've already been climbing. That's true. That's the many little milestones that you need to reach. But I mean, we spoke about being busy versus being productive. And I think you cannot be productive if you don't know what your destination is. Busy people will go around everywhere because they don't know where they're going. But a productive person, or you can only be productive if you know where you're going. I mean, how would you know how to be productive if there isn't something that you're aiming to achieve?
Hennie, I'm sorry I moved you up on the screen there for a moment,
cool.
But Gordon has been trying to join us from, I believe, is in in KwaZulu South Coast. So from an area close to Margate or Ramsgate, if anybody knows that area. I might be wrong. He might be somewhere else this evening. But Gordon, it's lovely to have you joining us. And, we're looking forward to you being able to open your mic or get properly connected. I know you're struggling with connectivity over there, but just to welcome you. And I wanted to, I've talked about Anton. You mentioned Peter earlier this evening, one of our very first members. Anton Skippers, one of our first members, who's actually using Map for Life very effectively and traveling all over the world with his idea of the apprentice doctor, an incredible program for young medical students. And Gordon was actually at the very first Map for Life training I did in Durban back in 2001. Can you imagine? And he attended that. It's quite something to think. 23 years ago, and just recently we found that he was supporting an organization that also engaged with Map for Life, and we reconnected after so many years. So just wonderful to have Gordon joining us. As you can see, he lost connectivity again, but Gordon, thank you so much for being part of Map for Life. And we're looking forward to you entering into that season when maybe you feel led to engage in a guardian role. I think there's a need for anybody who absolutely and completely supports our purpose, vision, and mission. There's a need for people to protect that. And so you might find that you could play that role in the same way that you're doing it in the organization that you're a part of right now. Hennie, can I read something from this book?
You can.
Of Mandela. I'm going to change it just a little bit because I want to read it for Rian and Sankwe and the other people that are joining us this evening or listening in. And thank you, by the way, Rian, for the reference to busyness, the hamster wheel being the reference to busyness in business. It's always so nice to see that people that speak a foreign language can spell English words better than I can. So thank you very much. Baie dankie, as I say, or dankie wel, as they say in Belgium and the Netherlands, I think.
Yeah.
This is scroll number 6. And it goes like this, is that, Hennie, I'm going to read it to you, Moss. Okay. We'll throw in a few other slang words. I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to read it to Rian, and I'm going to read it to Sankwe. It goes like this. You are nature's greatest miracle. Since the beginning of time, never has there been another with your mind, your heart, your eyes, your ears, your hands, your hair, your mouth. It goes on, your fingerprints, your DNA, and so on, as we talk about in Map for Life. None that have come before you, none that live today, and none that come tomorrow can walk and talk and move and think exactly like you. For me, that speaks of absolute uniqueness. And I think one of the greatest things that we can do is to really embrace one another's uniqueness and recognize that our uniqueness can make us strong together. Instead of constantly trying to get other people to conform to our way of thinking. And to do that, in Map for Life, we have the idea in our Map Club, a very important part, by the way, of supporting you on your journey and for us to learn from one another through mentorship and so on. We talk about embracing diversity. And I think this idea of diversity comes in many shapes and forms. Some people might think of it purely from an ethnicity perspective. But you know, where I grew up in the Eastern Cape, there were so many different language groups, so many different professions, so many different kinds of people. It was amazing. And to be placed in, to be in a position where instead of comparing yourself to other tribes, let's say, other thought patterns, other belief systems, instead of trying to compare your belief system with someone else's to demonstrate that yours is better than theirs, which so often happens in life today. What about us sitting for a moment and really deeply listening for the purpose of understanding? I find myself caught in a place where I don't always understand what somebody is trying to tell me because they have a different perspective. And that the desire to understand can give me a new perspective, which can strengthen my ability to deal with the problems, challenges, issues, circumstances in my life. So I think this little scroll marked 4, and it's much longer than what I read, by the way, but it just talks about our uniqueness. And when I look at Sankwe, Rian, yourself, myself, we all come from very different places, different backgrounds. We can learn from one another. And maybe part of this power goal is to actually have an accountability team, a mentor team, a Delta force, a Delta team. We talk about 4 people making up the perfect team in MAP, is having that kind of Delta team that respects one another, that shares a common objective in the sense of growing and learning. And maybe that is an aspect of what you were talking about this evening. Maybe you can talk a bit to that, because I want to read some of the comments that are shared since we were chatting.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we are in a world where people often have the attitude of saying my way or the highway. People don't respect other people's opinions, other people's ways of thinking. We come across as someone knowing everything, and we don't want to listen to somebody else. And the funny thing is, if you start changing your mindset to be open to learn from other people, it's unbelievable how much you learn. Peter has asked me to put down daily what have I learned during the day. And the first few days it was very difficult. I didn't really learn anything because of not doing anything. But as your mindset start changing, you learn from everybody. I mean, I've learned from Sankwe, I've learned from you, from Rian already on this call, because I'm now open-minded. I'm taking in what I can.
Just before we end this evening, it's amazing how quickly tonight's gone. Before we end, I would like you just to quickly recite those points, because Sankwe just mentioned he missed the first one. So we'll do that in a moment, Sankwe. But he also asked a very important question, and that is, how do I separate my personal goals from my business goals? Map for Life doesn't actually separate them. When we take a look at the Wheel of Life, Sankwe, we actually have 8 different areas defined. And one of those areas we call career or business. And so I think the idea of separating yourself from what you do is a mindset that we've kind of adopted. It's almost like the idea of separating church and state. Have you ever heard that term? Separate church and state. Anybody who says that we need to separate church and state doesn't understand what church is. Because church is not like state. State is an organization. It's an organ that has been designed to lead. And so it's kind of an organization, and they want to separate that organization from the organization of the church. But the church is not an organization. The church is a group of people. So you don't go to church if that is your belief base. You don't go to church. You are the church. So if you are the church, how can you separate yourself from state if you are in government? It's like vacating parliament. You cannot separate the two. And in the same way, to separate your personal goals from your business goals is to take yourself out of the picture. Now, I understand what you're asking, and that is that there's often an extremely high focus on your business or career goals, to the extent that your family begins to suffer, your health begins to suffer, and all these things. And so in Map for Life, we want to really emphasize the importance of balance and keep being mindful of all these different areas. However, if you want to really focus on the business, if let's say you are in business, which I'm assuming, Sankwe, you are. If you are in business, we've actually included in the Map for Life blueprint, we talk about leading with purpose in your personal or business life, or in fact anything else. So inside here, you can actually use this tool either to focus on your personal life or your business life, or a combination of those two, based on what is really important in your specific life. So I think to separate these two is a and I might be and I might be wrong in saying this, but I'm thinking deeply about a lot of things that I have been taught to take for granted in my life. And one of the things that an employer does is he wants his employees to be completely and utterly devoted to his business. He doesn't want to hear about your personal problems in the workplace. So the message that they give is you need to separate business from pleasure or business from work. Life is life. Life incorporates all those things. So I don't think they need to be separated. I think we need to learn how to enable them to work together in harmony. And the best way to do this is to ensure that your business is purpose aligned. And when I say purpose aligned, it's aligned with your purpose. Too many people today are in business for one thing, and that is profit. If you are in business for profit, no matter how you try and sugarcoat that as a good reason to be in business, it's death to you. You need to be engaged in your passion. Because if you're engaged in your passion, it doesn't matter how difficult times come, you can get through that. If you're engaged purely for profit, tomorrow there will be a better business idea than the one you have today. And so purpose is fundamental. And that's why with Map for Life, we encourage people to do map from a personal perspective first, so that they are clear what their purpose is. Then choose what business you engage in and align it with your purpose. And if you do that, I think this issue of personal business being separate, you're going to suddenly recognize, hang on, I'm one person. Whatever I do in my personal life is also me in the business. I can't be two different people here. If I try and be two different people, I don't think I'm going to succeed in that. So that's just my thought on it. Hennie, I think our time is already past, but I'd love you to just highlight those key points that Sankwe has asked, and we can end the show with that.
Perfect. I can do that. Just maybe quickly, Sankwe, from my side, I'm a business analyst. That's what I've been doing for 30 years. I've done the Map for Life thing. My purpose is to empower people to find their purpose in life. Is the business analysis going to get me there? No. Right now, I believe my job is a placeholder for me to actually achieve my goal. So I'm going to leave it there. That's my focus. I'm not saying go and do the same thing, but that's my experience where I am right now. All righty. You asked about how do I convert a goal to a power goal? How do I set that up? Step number one is straightforward, simple. Put down everything on paper. Put down all your dreams and goals. Make sure you put them down positively. Then you start testing those goals that you've put down. The second step then is to say, measure the desirability. How badly do you want it? How worthy is that goal? That's number two. If it hits a 10, then it's still on track to be a power goal. Then number three is the difficulty. How difficult is it going to be to achieve that goal? If it hits a 10, which is very, very difficult, you're still on par to hit a power goal. Step number four is it must be good for you, good for everyone involved, and good for the greater good. So in other words, the goal needs to be good for everybody around you and for the world. If it's focused on you alone and it's going to upset the environment, not going to be a power goal. Righty. Then you need to give that goal a time frame. Okay, when am I going to achieve it? On or before? And then lastly, you just need to make sure that you are in control of it. It is something that you've got control over, and you're not hoping for things to fall in place. If I win the lotto, then it can actually happen kind of thing is not good. You need to be totally in control of it. And that's really the steps. You got it. Yes.
I love it. Thank you so much. I couldn't keep up with the typing, the typing there.
You said
Hennie,
real quick.
a few deletes, and I was so my apologies for not being able to write them all on screen there for you, Sankwe. But we will add them. We're going to edit this video afterwards, and we will add them in clearly so people will be able to see. Remember that we meet like this every Wednesday evening and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. We would love you to engage. Hennie and I are not here to be the only people on screen. We would love every single one of you. If you're joining us regularly via the YouTube subscription, please contact us. We'd love to engage you in a live panel discussion. Before we do that, we will invite you to join one of our map clubs, and so that you can get familiar with being on screen, talking with other people, sharing your insights and mentorship. And later, we would love to have you as part of our panel. So look forward to that. I see there was a final comment. I'm not too sure if that's something. Okay, great. Thank you, Sankwe. And it's just been so wonderful. Hennie, I'm excited about what you're doing. And I think that we have an opportunity here to invite everyone who listens to this recording to maybe do a short book review on their number one book that they've read. Record it on your own device. Share it with us. We would love to have those available in our resource section, and we would happily promote whatever those books are. But we'd love to hear not only what is the book about, what are the highlights, but what have you actually applied from that book in your life? Because that makes it real. That makes it extremely valuable. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening further. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. So from Hennie and I, good night.
Cheers, everyone.
And I'll press the button for the video. Cheers. See you.